George is a 5-year-old Oldenburg warmblood used for dressage and in September 2018 was diagnosed with bilateral exostosis of the medial splint bones of the forelimbs. These can be seen in the photographs. From behind, you can see that George has increased fetlock extension of the left hind compared to the right. George's carpal valgus conformation and medial lateral circumduction of the forelimbs may have predisposed him to injury due to uneven loading. George is also a large horse with exuberant paces, meaning that excessive forces will be travelling up the limb, putting excess pressure through the splint bones, which act as a balancing mechanism for the horse.
From the lateral view, in the initial few strides, the right hind limb has a shortened protraction, and listening to the footfalls you can hear that George lands heavier with the left hind limb. George has always presented with a weakness in his right hind in mid and lateral work, which may have caused him to cranially load, predisposing him to develop splints. George was moved onto grass for the trot to reduce concussive forces through the limbs.
From behind, George is slightly tarsus valgus, moves base narrow and therefore lands quite medially. Upon placement of the hind limbs, George medially rotates them and the hoof placement is lateral to medial. George hops into trot, raising his head when the left forelimb hits the ground to reduce peak forces, indicating pain in this limb. At the end, George shows avoidance behaviour due to being in pain.
The lateral view in trot shows how the left forelimb has reduced fetlock extension due to placing less weight through this limb. Here you can see that George is bracing and raising his neck. This is most likely because he is trying to redistribute his weight caudally.
To summarise, the weakness in George's right hind may have caused him to cranially load, placing additional weight on the forehand. This, alongside his valgus forelimb conformation and medial foot placement, compromises the medial aspect of his forelimbs, leading to the development of splints.